Another episode, narrated by Poblano, is unreadable, but the action is undeniable, and there are some fun surprises along the way. This is the Civilization Battle Royale X, Season 4, Episode 27, How to Disappear Completely. My name is Poblano, I'm writing the part. Thanks for joining us, but this is starting now. Come sit next to me, pour yourself some tea, just like Koyat made when he couldn't find sleep. Welcome to CBRX Season 4, Episode 24. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon. The narrator who called it a part has been sacked. I want a girl who will make OC for no one else. When I'm writing the part, she puts specific pals on the sub. When I'm writing the episode, she never leaves the house. I want a girl who will make OC for no one else. Thank you, Orange, for this hilarious Pacific Pals comic. I don't know what I'd do without you. Probably skip this slide. I don't know. The narrator who replaced the narrator has been sacked. The cylinder has turned and left me here, just where I was before Bora Bora appeared, and in Rio Grande's place an empty space has filled the void behind Bento's face. Thank you, Sonic Fan 0511, for the map. Your efforts are so appreciated. We love to see England's slow takeover of the entire map. What's with these homies donating their money? Why do they gotta fund? What did we ever do for these guys and gals and non-binary pals that made them so generous? Thank you, supporters, for your unbelievable aid in keeping this thing going. CBR will never die, thanks to you. Note, your funding may not prevent the impending nuclear apocalypse, in which case CBR may die. Sorry about that, but you know about that possibility when you decided to support CBR. We welcome back Bartok to the screen as our latest donator, having supported continually throughout Season 2 and 3. If you want to destroy Burgundy, hold this longbow as I draw the string. Watch them unravel, they'll soon be ended. Dying in Dijon, they've come undone. The 100 Years' War is finally ending. It lasted, 8 millennia longer than real life? Will this victory be enough to make England a contender? Or is it too little, too late? The sea is foaming like a bottle of beer. The Bora Bora wave is coming, but Tiwanaku ain't got no fear. And now the actual episode begins. Yeah, those Tiwanaku Antarctic cities may be fucked. There aren't enough units here to take both, but with Bora Bora in position, Picolacta should fall like Omo before it. Dear Daddy, I write you, in spite of years of silence. You've cleaned up, found Jesus. Things are good, or so I hear. This city of Dajis awakens ancient feelings, like Episode 15, Episode 27. The Shang are drowning in the flood. A Chinese dynasty, losing to Goguryeo? Are we sure this is the Shang and not the Sui? The Shang capital is in Goguryeo's hands. In Yelbuga I feel safe. No one cares about Kazan. An irrelevant peace with Royal Hungary lets us see Kazan. Yikes. Let's go away for a while, you and I, to a Selkop grassland, where they speak no word Oirat, but we conquer their land anyway. Yeah, the Selkops are boned. Dzungars have their unique lancers, which upgrade to cavalry and can push enemy units back. That makes it hard to maintain a defense, which in turn allows the Dzungars to set up this absurd number of cannons. Nipaluna, we see what it means. Send out units cuirassers, but when we peace, it's all been erased, and so it seems, only in dreams. Nungar and Palawa, peace out. Fuck. I'm tired, so tired. I'm tired of autocrats. Sami so thin, the Finns could win. A man can dream, right? The Finns have just been biding their time this whole game, and they'll break out any second now. Any second now. Just like the Atlanta Braves offense. Yeah, that one hits a little close to home for me. I can't believe what Goguryeo's done to Shang, what Daji did to her citizens. Goguryeo's done to her. Zhang declares an irrelevant war on the Nivkh. Oh, and Daji recaptures her capital. I hear she's going to celebrate by bathing in wine. No, there is no other wonder. No, there is no other wonder. I can't have any other wonder. Though I would, now I never could with order. Pharaoh continues its wonder sluttiness by building the Kremlin. Boy, this wonder sucks in Vanilla Civ 5. Prora and SOL are so much better. Why bother? It's gonna bore you. It's gonna kill when you research it. This wonder I haven't seen before. I won't look it up anymore. I'm like 90% sure this wonder probably just has some great works of art slots. Probably a great artist point too. Good job, Wagi. I'm sure this was a great use of your capital's very limited production. You know what? I checked anyway, and I was basically right not to care. Free Golden Age and plus 50% GP generation in the city. That's like mildly useful. Why are you so far away from me? I need help on your way across Jetta. I could never conquer you. I think it would be wrong. I've got your city, you've got my peace. Hungary. What the fuck? Hungary pieces out with Bavaria and gives away a city not in any danger. I'm excited to see this when the borders update. Fingers crossed it's cut off from Bavaria entirely. And I don't want to be an old woman anymore. It's been a turn or two since I was out in the war. Taking booty, kidnapping kids in the night. It's time I got back to the murdering life. Hey, but don't worry, Hungary fans. She has her UU. It's not over. I asked you to go to a Greenland city. You said you'd never heard of Tiror. How cool is that? How cool is that? So I went to your land and built a settler. Pharaoh is settling some of the last possible city spots on the cylinder. I'm sure this will help their happiness problems. If they didn't have those issues, I'd say this kind of makes sense. Pharaoh's UB, when built, gives cities 2 free sheep resources. That means there will be a tiny bit of food here, which is enough for a deity AI. I'm dumb, Yuan Jun Miao. I thought I'd finally won. We were good, as pieced out in my mind, but pieced out in my mind's no good. Oh, Yuan Jun Miao in yellow. Let me know the truth. Let me know the truth. Yeah, Daji takes back Zhao Jie again. With Goguryeo cannon in range, it's sure to fall, again. But this flipfest is now threatening more than just Zhao Jie. Yuan Jun Miao is now deep in the yellow. I'm shaking at your touch. Your cannon are way too much. Zungar, I think Astana's falling to you. I'd do about anything to keep Almaty alive. Or maybe I would rather settle peace with you. Astana falls to the Dzungar hordes, cutting off Almaty completely from reinforcement. Almiak doesn't look safe either. Cities starting with As or Al, beware the hordes. Cities starting with Ak, illusion of safety. Yesterday I went outside with my mama's mason jar, caught a big Great War bomber. When I woke up today, looked in on my narration, she had weasered all away. No more lyrics in your episode. I'm pretty sure this is the first plane seen in the episode. As you may know, planes are like really pretty good for war. Also, more relevant to the action at the moment, Bora Bora gives a suicidal try at taking the Palawa city of Wilcowain. Holy shit, Singapore is assaulting the Mexican city out of nowhere. Incredible scenes. There's just one problem. Well, several. But the most important one is that Singapore's melee naval units are few and far away. The other big problem is that even though this is very funny and embarrassing for Mexico, Mexico has plenty of units to retake the city. And in a flipfest, Singapore will feel that lack of melee units even harder. In a tragic shot of the Nivkh, we see the now settled post-war borders. It seems that heart and wanting it more were no match for Gogoryo's cock-blocking. Agent Ishtar is moving to Mashbad. Boy, isn't that exciting. Talk to me when there's Ishtar Rule 34. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore the espionage. Burgundy's forces continue to dwindle, while the Visigoths fail to assault Astorica for the 596th time this season. What's worth noting here is that England has skirmishers, the next level of ranged unit in the Enlightenment-era mod. This has the potential to be a double-edged sword for Henry. If he upgrades his longbowmen, the skirmishers will have 2 range. This is a reduction from the longbowmen's increased range, meaning they will have to be in range of a city in order to deal damage. Still, they're powerful enough to be more useful, and that extra range is still very powerful compared to other civs ranged units of this era. However, if he merely builds skirmishers rather than upgrading them, they will have just 1 range. Even with the increased range strength, it is far more useful to have a longbowman with 3 range than a skirmisher with 1. I'd probably have delayed researching this tech if I was England, even if it will also upgrade their musketmen. Bavaria supports green energy, probably because they haven't researched industrialization. The Taino have an elective monarchy. I'm imagining this is a Malaysia-type situation, where the monarchy rotates between kings of various Caribbean islands. Hopefully Mexico doesn't meddle in the elections. If it isn't clear, I don't really know what to take away from government slides. Still, I'll shout out the absolute monarchy of Sierra Leone, led by progressives. Florida's real estate scheme of a civ is led by oligarchs. Makes sense. Jalge falls again, and Yuan Jun Miao seems doomed as well. Goguryeo has an undamaged cannon set up on the hills outside the city, and a few melee units around. It's hard to fight muskets with swords. Here we see that Java has recovered fully in terms of city health from the Nungar assault. It's a sad scene for Nungar fans. The civs seem to be on the verge of a breakout comeback. But it is still not good for Singapore either, as these cities once had double their current population. Still, citizens on the island are comforted by the music of the Beach Boys. In happier news for Singapore, Valladolid falls. This is very funny and embarrassing for Mexico, but Singapore has captured the city with their only naval melee unit in the area. With the Mexican musketmen in range, the city will certainly flip back and cut the celebration short. The isolated Tule city of Pituffik is repelling an Osage attack. It may seem like this city is an easy capture, but those 2 frigates in the Great Lakes are the most powerful ranged units in the screenshot. With 5 different ranged attacks defending the city, and Osage units forced to embark to assault the city, this is a nearly impossible nut to crack. It can be done, if enough units are sacrificed to allow cannon to set up. But will the AI be able to pull that off? Vijay declares war on Singapore. Kalibangan is the most obvious target, but it's also the city with the highest defense and the most defenders. That attack could easily fail. If Vijay instead focuses their efforts on Chantanburi and Tanjong Pagar, they could secure a foothold against Singapore for future wars. There's a path to success still for Vijay, even if it's hard to see. They're way behind in tech, but this is an era where if you have frigates and privateers, you're going to have naval parity for a long time. The Ndongo assault on Eswatini begins in earnest, with Big Bend taking damage and a cannon in range. It should be noted the difficulty which the terrain presents here for Ndongo. The discovery of Flintlock means all their main ranged units have just a single unit of range, forcing them to rely more heavily on siege units. The terrain here means that many tiles are unusable for siege units. Near Big Bend, the cannon in the south actually cannot damage the city due to the hill in front of it. With only Lancers as melee units in position, it's possible that the assault still fails, despite a huge tech advantage. Ecuador continues its invasion of Tiwanaku, and boy does it look bad for Tiwanaku. With multiple cities in range of cannon fire and a plethora of melee units, it is likely only a matter of time before Pariti and Pokhara fall. Unfortunately for Bora Bora fans, it does not appear at the moment that there is a real chance of any Bora Bora snipes. Still, they should be heartened by the clear tech advantage they have over every other civ in the screenshot, boasting cavalry, riflemen, and field guns. Yuan Junmiao finally falls, and though it looks like it will flip back, it's definitely going to finish in Goguryeu's hands. It will be interesting to see if Goguryeo can push into Jiaotun and Anyang, but at this point they haven't shown the initiative yet. They certainly have the tech and the units. A future Poblano note, the Mongols are at war with the Shang and threaten the northern cities. Valladolid goes back to Mexican control. There is no hope of Singapore recapture. Still, this demonstrates opportunity for Pueblo. Mexico's Pacific Navy is very weak. Neither civ has acquired frigates and privateers yet. If one civ acquires them first and declares war, the results could be disastrous for the other civ. Speaking of maps that could be changed drastically if someone researched frigates, the Med. If Rome manages to get the tech, they could easily take every city on the sea and achieve Mare Nostrum. Their sheer dominance in terms of naval size is impressive, certainly looking a bit thin on the land unit front, which may be a problem in the future. A coalition forms against the Pueblo, with Goguryeo and Iko-Iki joining forces against the Civ. The Hawaiian cities have such low defense that you could easily see them both falling to either Iko-Iki or Goguryeo. With Pueblo still unable to cross the ocean, it will be impossible for them to reinforce the cities. A shot of Iko-Iki shows us they have a decent force to potentially contest control over Hawaii, but this should not be heartening for Iko-Iki fans. This shot shows an extremely dire naval technology gap. Goguryeo has a carpet of naval units 2 eras ahead of Iko-Iki. Nagashima, Yamashima, and Ota could all easily fall in the case of a war, and Goguryeo could potentially go even further. The cities of Emerita and Rakopolis take heavy damage from English and Faroese fleets. Though it is unlikely that either city permanently falls in this war, every loss is devastating for Visigoth production as the Civ struggles to keep pace with its neighbors. Even while the Pueblo face the total loss of their Hawaiian territories, they have their eyes on a far larger prize. They begin an attack on the Osage capital, and the terrain is extremely favorable for the attacker. Osage has very few units to contest with, so if Pueblo can get its cannon in range, the city will fall. Also, shout out to Mexico's citadels in Canagalas and Walatoa. They've made a pretty strong foothold into the northern Gulf Coast. Paul McCartney watches the war and shrugs his shoulders, saying, "Live and let die." There's the banger wonder. Man, I love Prora. It's about 5,000 times better than the Kremlin. The Wagi started the episode with about 8 happiness, which would be perilously close to the negative if they started conquering. Prora, with its happiness per social policy, will have more than doubled their net happiness. Notre Dame who? Worryingly for Ecuador fans, this front looks literally identical to the last time we saw it. Could they be choking? This shot of Zhang and Siam shows both civs have laughably small inland militaries. No one is threatening them here yet, but with Goguryeo only getting stronger, this could quickly become a problem. Siam doesn't have to worry about Goguryeo, but the Khoshutes look very strong in the image, boasting a tech advantage over Siam and their UU. The Khoshut UU, a lancer called the Yaso, has an extremely neat little bonus. Like all mounted units, it suffers a negative 33% city attack penalty. In CBR, with the very limited space to maneuver in most wars, this makes mounted units fairly weak. However, the Yaso inverts the city attack penalty of adjacent units at the start of its turn. That means that any knight or Yaso starting next to a Yaso actually has a plus 33 bonus to attacking cities. The Dzungars have to deal with very tough terrain in order to take Almiak, but they're managing it. They have a cannon in range now, and plenty of other units to distract the Selkups from attacking the cannon. That should allow them to succeed, but the AI will AI. A coalition forms against the Kalmyks, but unfortunately none of the attackers can reach them, and end their misery. Hilariously, behind on tech, any of the Kalmyks' neighbors could probably succeed in an attack. Yes, even the Makhnovists. Shout out again to the Afsharid citadels. Banger. A war between Taino and Sierra Leone ends, and apparently there was actually some fighting going on over it. Did anyone else know this war was happening? Because I sure didn't. Amazingly, 2 of the 4 cities that the Khoshutes took off of Harappa have a larger population now than every other Khoshute city. I think this speaks to how amazing of a coup this war was for the Khoshutes, who are suddenly, amazingly, somehow a relevant civ, despite giving away Lhasa early on and losing Shigatse to Siam. Gotta love a comeback story. I waited to mention that Reformation belief because I had a tingly feeling that we might get a religion screen out of it. Bon is a decent religion, boosting some relevant stats, food, production, and science, but the Khoshutes are struggling to spread it at the moment. Their unique unit does cause cities to convert to their religion when captured, which may help turbocharge their religious spread if they can fight wars good. Palawa, despite the fact that it has seemed like they would outscale Nungar for the past 27 episodes, has largely stagnated. Nevertheless, they declare that they are, in fact, the champions. It seems that the Pueblo have finally figured out how to cross the ocean, which is great news for Pueblo fans hoping they can hold on to the Hawaiian Islands. However, given that they only have 2 units in the screenshot capable of doing so, I would caution against celebrating. I'm not here, this isn't happening is what I would sing too if I had to perform a concert in Solvagor. Burgundy's forces continue to dwindle in the face of the inevitable English victory. There are just 8 Burgundian military units in this image. For God, King, and Harry! This is still Pueblo, not Doc Ito saying this. I love Henry V. I wrote an essay on Shakespeare's play about him. You can find the link in the text narration on the civbattleroyale.tv website. Yeah, it's nerdy as fuck to post that, but you're watching Civ AIs fight each other. Deal with it. As I predicted, the terrain is really causing Ndongo to struggle here. Despite being badly out-teched, Eswatini has pretty solid city defense stats, and those frigates are really wreaking havoc on any Ndongo unit that sets up on coast-adjacent tiles. Wagi is really starting to run away with tech. I was going to write something about questioning whether they could actualize that tech advantage into success, given their lack of production as an island civ, but I abandoned that after actually checking the stats. Somehow, the Wagi are managing to top the board in production and production per city. Everyone better Wagi watch out. I didn't recognize how determined and gritty the Mongols were. That's my bad. I wasn't familiar with their game. Jiaotun falls to the Mongols, and Old Sarai, once a Mongol city, is likely to be recovered as well. Sorghag Tani should watch out, though. Jiaotun could easily flip back, and Goguryeo has more melee units nearby to snipe it. It appears I underestimated Vijay's powers in the south, as Kalibang, many numbers, will likely fall, despite a newly apparent Singapore tech advantage. That tech advantage is going to make it nearly impossible to press the assault further east after the city's fall, however. Yeah, abandon all hope of a continued Pueblo presence in Hawaii. The best we can hope for is a funny Iko Iki snipe. Though the actual city damage continues to be limited at this moment, don't be mistaken. This is a disastrous situation for the Selkups. Barring a sudden peace treaty, Almaty and Almiak will fall, and the Dzungars might not stop there, with the Selkups looking preposterously thin. There are simply too many cannon and not enough units to destroy them. Remember how Vijay made me eat my words previously? Well, they're doing it again. Kalibang falls and Chantanburi immediately falls deep into the yellow within a single turn of attack. The city will fall if they can get a melee unit in. Surely they won't be able to go farther than that, though. Why does Sierra Leone have a big fleet in the South Atlantic? No clue. They could probably take out Tehuelche, though. That'd be funny. The Zhang carpet looks just as sad as when we last saw it, but at least they now have Ian Fleming, author of the James Bond novels. Not gonna lie, I'm only 40% certain I have that right, and I'm not going to look it up. You were on your 40%, yes, that is correct. Now we're finally starting to see some real progress for Ecuador. PUC 41-13-17 is deep in the red, and should fall. However, the offensive in the west appears to be faltering slightly. Perhaps, once they take the city, they'll refocus their efforts. Dijon falls to the yellow. The 100 Years' War is nearly at its end, with Henry V as the rightful victor. Asturica takes some damage, but the Visigoths won't capture the city with mounted units. Pontus and Machno declare war on Rumpel, Hungary, but neither can actually threaten Chiete. Unfortunately, Gaziura is actually connected to the rest of Bavaria. There's not much to remark on this image besides that Yellowknives went autocracy, the best ideology for war, so here's where I'll say the Yellowknives are a pretty cool civ. The Yellowknives are a pretty cool civ. Hey, look kids, there's Big Ben, and there's Parliament. This wonder is pretty good in SP, and when combined with other abilities that reduce purchase cost, it can allow for some pretty cheeky plays, like extremely cheap spaceship parts. Unfortunately, the AI will not take advantage of this wonder, and so we can only say it looks pretty cool. And now for our regularly scheduled look-in at the collapse of Pueblo, Hawaii. Boy, that sucks. Iko Iki has actually brought some naval melee units around, so maybe we will get that snipe. New Holland declares war on Osage? I'm going to be real with you, this is going nowhere. And New Holland's territory looks dangerously empty. On the bright side for New Holland, it looks like Ecuador is still failing to take cities off Tiwanaku. Sierra Leone has adopted autocracy, the standard ideology of progressive absolute monarchies. Unfortunately, it will not help them take Meknes, and boy do they need help, given they're currently trying to attack with mounted units. Kanem Bornu is trying to eliminate the Mamluks, but they will, unfortunately, fail. This terrain is too unfavorable and they do not have a significant enough tech advantage. Maybe if they slammed musketmen into it, but they don't appear inclined to take that strategy at the moment. Well, if Vajay is going to keep proving me wrong, at least the Zungars are helping to boost my average. Almaty falls, and though it may flip, it's certain to stay a part of the Zungar Khanate. Almeach immediately drops to half health under the combined assault of two cannon. The Selkups are starting to reinforce the south, but it's far, far too late. Kalibangan is now safely in Vijayanagara, see, I can say the whole thing, control, and Chanthaburi falls to the red with a new Vijayanagara privateer lurking to the west. The Tuli fleet is really quite impressive, and though they're falling behind a bit, no one can really threaten them on land. Their navy provides them with a lot of opportunities for surprise expansion. A Mexican invasion, perhaps? Luckily for Mongol fans, it appears that Sorgag Tani Beki has managed to hold on to Xiaotun in spite of the possibility of a Shang flip. Old Sarai still somehow evades her grasp, though, and Goguryeo has not managed to damage Anyang. As always, we must mention the hilly terrain. Xia is at 0 health, thanks to a Pueblo cannon on the island. Unfortunately, there are no melee units available to flip the city. C'est la vie. The effort is doomed. Palauan observers, led by Henry Hudson, watch the war, hoping to glean some insight on modern naval strategy. Chanthaburi officially falls, and while one can easily envision a Singapore invasion to retake the city, it has not yet materialized. The city is a nice prize for Vijayanagara, though not a particularly large or productive city. It, at the very least, blocks any potential Siamese naval expansion, and could serve as a staging ground for future wars. Unfortunately, it's probably too little, too late for their hopes. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. all in the Valley of Death, rode the 600. "Forward the Light Brigade! Charge for the guns," he said. Into the Valley of Death rode the 600. On the doorstep of capturing Pucara, Ecuador abandons the assault for an ill-fated cavalry charge at Pariti. There will be no survivors. What the fuck is Moreno doing? The Pharaoh stronghold in North America remains surprisingly high in population and totally unthreatened by its neighbors. However, it's not totally clear to me how they can turn this into a win. They have a great navy here, though out of date, but there are not really any major cities to capture with ships. The land carpet is scarce, and there is not a single Faroese siege unit to be seen. I can understand why they've been dropping in the rankings. Dijon drops to 0 health. It will be over next turn, but will we see it before the episode ends? One can only hope. The Osage attack on Thule continues to fail. This is truly impossible terrain to attack in, and worse yet, every loss on this front is a unit not defending against the Pueblo. I'm going to be honest, the odds are more likely at this point that Bora Bora captures a Tiwanaku city than Ecuador. Sure, Pocotia and Alegrete are less damaged, but Bora Bora actually has field guns and riflemen. Well, I said it would be over, and yet another turn has come without Dijon falling. Whoops. Henry's attack on Emerita has also faltered, and Asturica drops to yellow. Still, I refuse to believe the city is in any actual danger, even if the Visigoths have a cannon now. All of Hawaii is now solidly in Gogurio's hands. Does this have any serious impact on the game? Maybe. Most plausibly, it could cause Iko Iki to split up its navy in a future war, allowing the numerically and technologically superior Goguryeo navy to sweep them. The cities also could be useful for launching future invasions of North America, just as it could have been useful for invading Asia if Pueblo had held on to them. Alas. Old Sarai is as good as new Sarai again, as Sorgag Tani has liberated the city from Daji's tyrannical rule. As Goguryeo half-heartedly attacks the Shang capital, Kirasers aren't going to be able to take a city, witness Ecuador. Most of Shang's cities are, in classic fashion, undergoing resistance after Daji murdered another citizen. I'm sure the Mongols and Goguryeo greatly appreciate the free luxuries. The Selkups have 80 slides into the episode proper, finally committed to defending Almaty, Astana, and Almayak. Unfortunately, they decided to do so after having already lost all 3 cities. After decades of failing to conquer anything, the Dzungar Khanate is finally ascendant. Fear the Horde. Palawa, adopting the historical bent of many countries who have not gotten what they wanted out of war, have embraced autocracy. To be honest, I'd probably have gone with order here. The production benefits would have really helped, as they're lagging behind the top powers in that stat. In our final slide, the Pueblo have made peace with Goguryeo. On the bright side, they didn't give away any stupid cities in the peace deal. On the dark side, it seems their Osage offensive, TM, has completely stalemated. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for suffering through my narration. I had moderate amounts of fun writing it. Please tip your waiters, eat healthy, destroy Carthage, participate in the Discord collective Alt History, listen to Live Through This by Whole, do your homework, don't join the French Foreign Legion, and take your estrogen or testosterone as needed. Good night.